Well, the month of March has started very volatile with a big storm system producing severe weather, flash flooding rains, and a blizzard. So, what is to come as we go deeper into the month of March? We're going to walk you through the forecast over the next couple of weeks. We have a lot to happen. We have severe weather coming up potentially, we have another blizzard potentially, and the sudden stratospheric warming event and the polar vortex comes back into the conversation. So, a lot going on here. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to follow along with all my detailed, reliable and accurate weather information here on YouTube. You can do so by subscribing, like the video by giving it a thumbs up, especially if you find it informative. Also share this video with friends, family, and on social media. I do truly appreciate it. So let's get into the nuts and bolts here of the forecast, and let's look at the past 5 days. The first 5 days here of March have been active, especially along the Mississippi Valley and into parts of the Dixie Alley here. A lot of precipitation from parts here of Wisconsin all the way to the Gulf Coast, and a lot of areas seeing at least a couple inches worth of rain. Now, the same can be said on the snowfall side as well. We've seen some snow, especially out west here, the first 5 days of March, the Sierras in particular, the central and southern Rockies. And then a blizzard most recently up there in the Midwest, producing even over 6-inch totals into northern Wisconsin, southeast Minnesota, and northern Iowa. So where does the weather pattern go from here? Well, we are starting to see that come ahead of a low pressure system move further east off of North America. So that is out of our hair for now. We're reestablishing our west-southwest flow aloft. So our temperatures will start to gradually warm up as we head into the weekend, but especially into next week. So here are your temperatures as we go into this afternoon. Notice you see a lot of blue and green on the screen. Those are below normal temperatures, and the orange and reds here, those are your above normal temperatures. And notice we see a lot more blue today and going into your Friday. Now, something to keep an eye on here. We got the warmer air to the south with the orange, that's above normal temperatures, and we got the blue and greens up here in the Midwest, Central Plains toward the southern Great Lakes. In that area, we got a tight temperature gradient, and this is what we call a baroclinic zone. And typically, you can see low pressure systems kind of ride up along that baroclinic zone between the temperature gradient there, producing snow sometimes on the northern side and rain and or severe weather on the southern side of that. And that's exactly what we have going on as we end this work week. So there goes our big storm system off of eastern North America. We're going to say hello to our new piece of energy out here across the west. By the way, bringing some very heavy snow to the central and southern Rockies, even some snow down in northern Arizona and northwestern New Mexico and the mountains there this afternoon. As we go into the evening, there's going to be a frontogenesis snow band start to set up here from southern South Dakota and into northern Nebraska and edging its way eastward into western Iowa. And this could be a little bit of a wintry mix of rain and snow in western Iowa initially toward Omaha and Des Moines, and then our colder air at night will start to get more cold toward the surface. So that means we're going to see snow from the cloud all the way down to the ground, and some grassy snowfall accumulations can be expected across the Hawkeye State, even further east into northern and central Illinois and southern Wisconsin here. And that'll continue through your Friday morning commute and throughout the day on Friday. So areas like Des Moines, Milwaukee, Rockford, Chicago, over towards Fort Wayne and Grand Rapids might have to watch out for some rain and or snow showers and some impactful weather to end your week. Now let's look at the snowfall accumulations. This piece of energy is undoubtedly producing some very heavy snowfall across the Rockies and even as far south as areas Flagstaff, Arizona and the mountains there, into northern portions of New Mexico, much of Nevada, into Utah, Colorado, into Wyoming especially, and then that frontogenesis band of snow producing at least a few inches of snow there, southern South Dakota, northern Nebraska, and into west central Iowa, and then a couple inches there for the western Chicago suburbs, and even Chicago proper as well, and then less than an inch the further east you go toward Fort Wayne, Grand Rapids, Toledo, and Detroit. Now let's look here at the weekend temperature regime, because we're going to see that colder air continue to funnel in. We're going to start to see a little bit of some warmer air funneling in though across the Pacific Northwest. So colder underneath and a little bit warmer over the top here for the weekend. And that is going to produce more of a southern storm track, right? The colder air is drier air and it's pushing that storm track a little bit further to the south this weekend. So here comes another piece of energy. We got some snow out here in the Four Corners region, maybe even Amarillo. Could be seeing some snow in the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma Panhandle, and southwest Kansas. Rainfall across North Texas and some stronger storms will be possible there on Saturday. And then the heavier rain and stronger storm activity will push eastward across the Gulf Coast and North Florida as we go into Sunday. Very dreary day, by the way, for Sunday across North Florida with a lot of heavy rainfall. Now, we are watching the potential for some severe weather, a low-end severe weather threat there as we go into Saturday, March 8th across East Texas, along and east of I-35, primarily into Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southwest Alabama, and maybe the far northwest Florida Panhandle. Biggest threats here, gusty winds to 60 miles per hour and some quarter-size hail, although a couple brief tornado spin-ups cannot be ruled out in places like Tyler, Texas, Houston, Lake Charles, Shreveport, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Gulfport over toward Mobile. Keeping an eye on that threat as we go into Saturday. Now, so far, as we go into Sunday, there's no threat for severe weather. Predictability for the Storm Prediction Center is too low, but I would not be shocked to see a marginal or slight risk of severe weather extending further east into southern Alabama, southern Georgia, north central Florida as we go into Sunday. Something to keep an eye on there. But this system, it could be producing those severe storms. So as we go into Saturday morning, isolated activity starting over there toward the I-35 corridor in far east Texas, and then blossoming with numerous thunderstorms rolling across portions of Louisiana into Mississippi as we go into the peak heating of Saturday, March 8th. And then you can see those storms really riding along the Gulf Coast and into northwest Florida Panhandle as we go overnight Saturday and into Sunday, and then those storms really reigniting here and moving over the same areas as well for a flash flooding risk in southern Georgia, southeast Alabama, and especially North Florida as we go into Sunday, March 9th. So here's the heavy rain swath. Notice the brighter oranges and reds are more focused across North Florida. That's where we could be seeing the potential of over 3 inches worth of rainfall here just this weekend, with most of the rainfall coming on Sunday, March 9th, and then some pockets here of a half-inch of rain across most of Dixie Alley here, so southern Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, east to Georgia, and parts of South Carolina, seeing some rainfall there as well. Now let's look at the weather pattern as we head into the second week of March. This is next week, Monday, March 10th through Friday, March 14th. We're going to be warming up the mercury east of the Rockies here, and we're going to be cooling off the mercury here across portions of the west, and that's as a big trough starts to enter into the picture, and it's going to bring a lot of moisture with it. Moisture-laden systems here across the west coast, especially for central, southern California. Areas that have been desperate for moisture over the past couple of months will be getting it. And then more active weather downstream from there as we go further to the east here into the central U.S. later next week. So here's how it all will evolve, okay? We have one kicker system. This is a trough moving in across the west as we go into Monday, Tuesday. This will bring some rain and or snow to California and the Pacific Southwest, while the ridge, you can see in the orange, further east, this is promoting sunnier weather and some warmer temperatures, possibly even some near record high temperatures for the Midwest, Great Lakes, and the Ohio Valley. Areas could get into the 70s by the middle of next week. So there's that kicker system, and then a bigger trough will bring even more precipitation to the west, especially for California, but the Four Corners region and Nevada as we go into later next week around Thursday, March 13th. And then a negatively tilted trough. We always have to watch these negatively tilted troughs as they eject across the central U.S. This could bring some feisty weather later next week in the form of significant severe weather, flash flooding, and another blizzard to the United States, because after all, it is still early to mid-March. So let's look at this first across the western U.S., and then we'll zoom it out, show you the rest of the United States, especially for the central and eastern U.S. So looking here at Monday, March 10th, we can see that moisture coming in with the kicker system. This is mainly a Southern California event and also here into Phoenix, so we could be seeing some rainfall there. We also have precipitation up here across the Pacific Northwest, mainly snow in the higher elevations, but rain for Seattle down to Portland. Here comes the bigger system midweek, Wednesday into Thursday. Look at the heavy snowfall, very deep blues there across the Sierra Mountains. Snowfall rates over 2 inches per hour, definitely possible. Heavy rainfall from northern, eventually getting into central and then southern California later next week, Wednesday into Thursday. And then that snowfall here for the mountains across the Pacific Southwest. And yes, more snow for the mountains there in Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado. And that will continue as we go into Friday. Precipitation amounts, liquid precipitation, could be seeing a couple inches of rain across the west here. No surprise with these heavy rainfall rates, could be seeing some mudslides out there and some ponding of water on the roadway. So do not drive through a flooded roadway, never a good thing to do. But looking here at the snowfall, avalanches will also be possible with plentiful snowfall, not only for the Cascades in the Pacific Northwest, but also the Sierra Mountains in the Pacific Southwest and much of the widespread areas of the Rockies seeing some heavy snow as well. Now here's the thing, as we go in towards the middle and especially the end of next week, there has been a lot of support for another strong, deep low pressure system across the central U.S. This is an ensemble, so this is taking an average of the members here and putting them together in a mean, and this is giving you a low pressure here around 990 millibars there Thursday evening on the lee side of the Rockies here in eastern Colorado, entering into either Nebraska or western Kansas. And then as we go into Friday, entering into the southern plains there and central plains as a 987 millibars. Again, this could be much stronger or it could be a little weaker than this. This is just an average. And then as we go into Saturday, that will track up towards the upper Great Lakes toward Lake Superior or northern Lake Michigan as a 989 millibar low. Again, this is just an average. So this in response to a strengthening low pressure system in mid-March, climatology supports the potential for significant severe weather. We have a very significant jet streak rounding the base of that trough here from Texas all the way up perhaps into Illinois, Iowa, and Missouri. And this is going to create a lot of wind energy on the eastern flank of that system. Now, will we have moisture return for the potential of heavy rain, but even more importantly, severe weather? So as we go into Thursday evening, notice there's not a lot of moisture, a lot of brown here, which means dry air. But look as a response of that, strengthening low as it pulls all that moisture from the Gulf further north. You can see kind of this lighter blue or purple shaded color and some greens further south and yellows as well. That's pulling that moisture from the Gulf all the way up toward the Great Lakes and the Midwest here. Warm front somewhere up toward the Midwest and the Great Lakes here, an initial approach. And you can see here, these are operational guidances. You can see the European model is showing that kicker system as we go through the middle of next week. And this in its own right could produce maybe a low-end severe weather risk for the Ohio River southward toward the Gulf Coast. Keeping an eye on that Wednesday, Thursday time frame. Here comes the big energy though on the European model, and notice a big northern track to that low, kind of cutting further north. Strong low pressure systems typically cut further north, and that is what we could see with an arcing band of supercells and potentially all modes of severe weather, tornadoes, possibly strong tornadoes here with the wind energy I'm seeing. Also some damaging winds that could be widespread and hail, obviously heavy rainfall, and then a blizzard with the tight isobars on the western flank of the system for the Dakotas and into Nebraska with that snowfall kind of rounding up there into Minnesota. Now the GFS model, very similar, a little bit different here on approach to the kicker system, a little bit further south. So not as much as Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, but more so Dixie Alley with the severe weather potential in the middle of the week, and a little bit further south and occluding with that system a little bit faster and occluding low pressure may not bring as significant severe weather to the Midwest, but something to keep an eye on as we go into the middle there of next week and into late next week for trends. Now, there has been a consistent signal. There is likely to be a blizzard with tight isobars. You're going to have snowfall falling and some very strong winds. So you can see a wind-driven snow from the Dakotas into perhaps northern and even the panhandle of Nebraska back toward Colorado there, northern Minnesota, and then that snowstorm kind of tracking more into Manitoba, Ontario, and up toward Hudson Bay there. And then on the warm side, we could be seeing some very strong winds, okay? So in response to this storm system, we're going to have the potential for wildfire concerns that continue across New Mexico, drought concerns, very strong winds. Yeah, not a good look here as we go into Thursday. And that strong wind field will even get bigger as that synoptic storm system is going to go further north. It's going to cut north. The warm sector is going to get a lot larger, and we're going to see a lot of winds ripping and roaring out of the southwest later next week, not only pulling in the warmer air, but the more moist and unstable air for the potential of severe weather, and that will continue even in the weekend across the Midwest, Great Lakes, and the Ohio Valley. And then after that point in time, as we go into the third week of March, or what we call late March, we're going to start to see the stratosphere come back into play here. And what this is going to do is potentially break off a piece of the polar vortex and push it somewhere into the lower latitudes. We're talking into portions of either North America, Asia, or Europe, and you can see the strong warming here in the stratosphere, and it's around a 1 to 2 week lag for this to reach where we live in the troposphere. And it definitely could be producing some very cold air. Now, again, this is March, higher sun angle, less snowpack on the ground, so it's not going to be as significant. We're not talking 60 below zero wind chills, but moderating Arctic air is still this time of year could bring highs into the 30s and 40s and lows in the single digits and teens and still make it ugly out there with the temperatures. So right now, the long-range guidance here for North America showing the third week in March being warmer, and that would make sense because there's a 1 to 2 week lag on the stratospheric polar vortex. If we look over at Europe, it's starting to cool off a little bit, but Asia as well getting very cold. So we don't exactly know where the strongest of the cold air from this will be. Will it be in Asia? Will it be in Europe? Will it be in North America? Something to keep an eye on here in the long range, and we'll keep you covered on that as we get later into March. I know there's a lot of information, folks. Take it all in. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Follow my detailed, reliable, accurate weather information here on YouTube by subscribing. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, especially if you did find it very informative and detailed. Subscribe. Also, share this video with friends, family, and on social media. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, do not hesitate to put them in the comment section down below. I am here for you, okay? And this is what I do as I answer questions about the weather and prepare you for the storms ahead. So thank you for watching, and that's all I have for you today. I'll have another weather forecast update for you all tomorrow.